Good Tuesday morning. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, goal getter community. It is the second day of our community challenge. It's called a Goal Getter Challenge, where we are every day for these next couple of weeks going to be in community together, doing the very best that we can to identify how we take full advantage of the year that sits in front of us by thinking a little bit about what could actually get in our way along the way and doing everything we can to stop those things from happening, or at least plan for them so that we can navigate around it. I see everyone filing on in. Welcome to this Tuesday. I am excited. So much great feedback. So many people just saying the nicest things about yesterday's conversation. I am back here again today and will be all week long this week, all week long next week. If you have not yet, you say, what the heck are we even doing here? I'm going to tell you, we are doing a challenge. We are doing something called a Goal Getter Challenge. We are doing it in part around this book called Get Out of Your Own Way. It's a book club of sorts. Today, we are deconstructing the lie that I have to have it all together. We're going to try and reframe a little bit of how you think about struggle, how you think about your weaknesses. It is something that is the difference, frankly, between you getting to where you'd hope to go in this year and you believing a set of what they call limiting beliefs, things that would actually hold you back and keep you from fully reaching the kind of year that you'd hope for, fully unlocking and unleashing the kind of potential that you have been gifted in this life. So let's talk a little bit about struggle. We just barely touched the tops of the trees on this topic yesterday, but I want to start with this. There is, I think, something innate in all of us that has us questioning when we struggle if there is something wrong with us, if there is something weak or broken or not enough because of that struggle presenting itself. And so we just have to start right off the top by acknowledging, again, that your struggle is not a sign of you being weak or broken or not enough. Your struggle is a reflection of your humanity, right? Every single person who is watching right now, including me, every single one of us, we all struggle. And I think part of why the idea that we could have shame or that we could feel weird or weak around the idea of struggle is in part because of the platform that you are watching this live stream from, right? There is something in the way that social media has allowed people to manicure and edit and curate the things that are happening in their life in a way that basically becomes a highlight reel, right? Like you are watching someone else representing their highlight reel version of their life, and it has tricked some part of your brain into believing that they have it all together in seasons when you don't. And the reality is, of course, those people who are curating their feeds, I curate my feed as much as anybody. That doesn't mean that they aren't also struggling, because struggle is so universal. So the first thing I think we have to do, number one, do not believe the story that you might be telling yourself after having spent time consuming the feeds of other people that are showing you what they are trying to perpetrate as their everyday, normal, everything's great life without necessarily also broadcasting the things that they're working through, the struggle that inevitably they are inherently also going through just like you. So number one, if you are struggling, you are human. Congratulations. Welcome to the club. We all struggle. It is normal. Let's move on. The second thing, and I think this is an interesting thing just to wrestle with. There is something in how we were raised. There is something in achiever hustle society that makes you question if you are able, if you're capable, if you're good enough, if you find something in the struggle and the weakness department show up in your life. And I will admit, like in real time, right? I'm getting ready to do this challenge. I am so excited for this challenge, but I will also I want to confess this. I was sitting with my therapist about 2, maybe 3 weeks ago now, and I was having a conversation about whether I was qualified to lead people in a conversation around chasing their very best year when I myself am still so much a work in progress, where I'm still every once in a while really struggling to feel as motivated as I'd like to, struggling with some of my habits, struggling. I struggle. I'm human, like you. And the great gift of being able to sit on the couch of a therapist is that sometimes they can help you see a thing that you could not see yourself. And he said, hey, Dave, did it ever occur to you that maybe the thing that qualifies you for this work, to write these books, to do coaching, to have these kinds of conversations, is the fact that you are willing to actually acknowledge that you are the work in progress that you are? Is there a possibility that this imposter syndrome thing that you are trying to work through, in fact, is something that someone who's listening is also going through as well? And that by suggesting, hey, in transparency, in vulnerability, in honesty, I am also trying to work through this thing, that maybe it gives someone permission to feel like they can also get through it and work through it because of your willingness to just own it. And so I want to encourage any of you, all of you, if you're worried that your humanity, that your humanness is going to be something that is seen as a liability, I think it is the exact opposite. It is a superpower. There is something in a world where we're all trying to influence, where we're all trying to lead, where we're all, whether it's our kids, our coworkers, our friends, the only way that you can actually have an impact on anyone is if you can create relatability through the empathy of representing the humanity that you possess. And it's not a liability. I think that the liability comes from the people who want to try and represent that everything's great in a way that disconnects them from the human experience that anyone that they're trying to be in community with actually is going through. So the more that you can change the way that you have assigned negative value to owning authentically and transparently the things that you are working through, it goes from vulnerability to superpower. It goes from weakness to strength. I mean, this book that we're going through, right? If you have not yet read it, I'm telling you, man, I am so biased in my love for this book. It's the proudest thing I've ever done in my career. But this book is every single chapter. There is some part of each chapter where I am sharing something that I actually had a lot of shame for, that I had a worry and an insecurity around of what people might say when they were able to see the honest, real version of who I am. But there is freedom. There is freedom in saying to everyone, anyone, this is who I am. This is how I struggle. These are the things that I have worked through and will be working through. And now that you get to know who I am, there is no more pressure. There is no more weight. There are no more anchors of what it might mean for you to find out one day the reality of my humanity. I'm just going to put it on display. And guess what? If someone decides that they don't like my book or they don't want to be coached by me, that's okay. I'm just not for them. But the idea that you can, I've heard fake it till you make it, or that you could manicure the optics and bring people into a community or relationship, you can, but at the expense of intimacy. You can, but at the expense of something that is actually meaningful. You can, but likely at the expense of impact, because impact is only going to be available to you if people can see some of themselves in you. And so I want to encourage you again, think just a little bit differently about whether pretending like things are okay, pretending like you've got it all together is actually an effective strategy to bringing along the people that you'd hope to lead, is an effective strategy in creating the empathy bridge that might afford connection in a world where we're all desperate for connection, right? I think too, just back to my conversation with my therapist, one of the things that I've had to continue to remind myself over and over, and I don't know who needs to hear this right now, but I need you to listen, whoever you are. God does not call the qualified. He qualifies the called, right? It's not that only certain people, or that only if you have a certain kind of qualification that you might find yourself in a position to bring light to this world, or that only when you've checked a certain number of boxes might you actually be able to afford the impact that your Creator created you for. No, you're pre-qualified. You have been pre-qualified by your Creator to be in this world, to afford it the light that was placed inside of you. And the only thing that could get in the way of you being that light bearer is if you talk yourself out of thinking that you are qualified in the first place. If you let the worry of not having it all together act as a barrier between you showing up for the life that was designed for you, or convincing yourself to just play it safe, convincing yourself to play it a little bit more small, to not take chances, to not push outside the harbor into the choppy waters where, of course, your growth and fulfillment lives, because of your worry of what people might think when you're not totally qualified to handle those waves when you get out there. Of course, you are not actually going to be a fantastic sailor the first day that you get outside of the harbor. But staying in the harbor, staying anchored to and believing the stories of why you don't yet have the qualifications to live the life that you'd hope for, or that you're not yet qualified to go out and have the impact that was designed for you, those are lies. Those are lies that are perpetrated by society forever and ever, and you get to choose if you subscribe to those lies or not. You get to decide, right? Struggle, hold on, I need some water. I'm getting fired up. All right, hold. Struggle, what's interesting is, I think we're all so conscientious of what it might mean for us to have hard things happen as a result of pushing ourselves into places that are outside of our comfort zone, that challenge our comfort. And the reality is that when you are struggling, it is a reflection often that you have found yourself in a space designed to make you grow. Your struggle is actually a reflection that you are doing the work to become. If you weren't struggling, you'd just be playing it safe. If you weren't struggling, you'd likely just be settling for that suffering that you know, rather than pushing into some new spaces where you, of course, are going to struggle as you get into it, but that because of the struggle, you'll learn. Struggle produces learning, and the learning is where growth ends up coming from. And if you can see the struggle as a reflection of you putting yourself out there, of you doing the new thing that will create the better thing, maybe then it helps reframe for you what struggle actually is. It's great. It's a great thing. All right, I'm going to talk about perfectionism for a second, because I think perfectionism and this idea of not actually having it all together, they go hand in hand. But before I do, I forgot to announce yesterday's winner. I think you are familiar with this. We're doing a challenge. If you joined us late, it's called the Goal Getter Challenge. Every single day for this week and next week, we're going to dive into a chapter of this book. If you don't have a book, grab this book. You can get it literally anywhere that books are sold. But every single person who is in the challenge has qualified themselves to get a one-on-one Zoom coaching experience with me. Every day I'm going to pick a different winner. And yesterday's winner is someone named Sue Paternoster. Sue, You and I are about to become best friends. I'm not saying we're going to build bunk beds together, but we may do some karate in the garage. I will be reaching out to you directly via email to set up our time for our one-on-one coaching. I want to encourage all of you, if you find any value in this challenge, share this challenge with your crew. If you end up sharing it, I'm going to pick someone who has shared so that we can get our lives together in a live one-on-one coaching opportunity. So congrats to Sue. All right, let's talk about perfectionism for a second, because perfectionism is, in my mind, a byproduct in some respects of this worry that we do not have it all together and need to have it all together. So there's three big things around perfectionism that I want to try and hit on for a second. Number one, when you are striving for perfection, you are keeping yourself from living your truth, right? So much of our time is spent trying to parse through what's real, what's not, what matters, what doesn't. And if we can just start conversations from places that are a little more honest, a little more authentic, a little more real, the chances are that we're going to actually have a more meaningful interaction, right? Where we're actually going to get to the desired outcome that we are looking for in our relationships in a far faster way, right? So if you can up front give an honest representation of yourself from the start, it's just going to make you feel better. You are going to feel freer. You will not be suffocating in this desire to be perfect, and it's likely going to allow you to take steps when you are questioning if you are ready. Nope, I'm ready. I am ready right now. The imperfect work in progress version of me, I am ready today. I'm going to take a step and I'm going to live my truth. The messy truth that is not perfect in any way. Let's go. So the first thing is perfectionism keeps you from living your truth, okay? The second thing is that perfectionism makes you unapproachable to other people, okay? There is no such thing as a perfect person. And so the one who decides to put on the airs of having it all together actually creates dissonance between their life experience and the experience of the people that they're trying to be in community with. And so if you are interested in being approachable, if you are interested in being someone who actually connects to other people, well, you have to drop the facade that you can be perfect. You cannot be perfect. You want more than anything to humanize a little bit of the experience of your experience so that as you're representing those weaknesses, as you're owning what you've been through, you're able to make that bridge, that empathy bridge that will inevitably connect you to the people that you're trying to connect with, that allow you to manage and lead people in a way that actually produces results, right? If you are a leader of humans and you have always tried to represent that you've got it all together, trust me, you are not doing as good a job leading people as you could if you were willing to actually represent that you also have struggled through this thing at work, and here were the tools that you used to apply progress, to make progress, to figure it out, to create a solution, right? Someone else is going through a thing that you're struggling with. And if you want to be able to be approachable, then owning the thing that you're struggling with is an invitation for them to be in community and meaningful community with you. And the third thing about perfectionism, it is what your enemies or competitors want from you, right? It is what they want. They want nothing more than for you to wait until you believe that you are perfectly qualified, that you're totally ready. Because when you strive for perfectionism, you don't do anything daring. You don't take any chances. You stick squarely with the status quo. You step in, and instead of actually, you step in it, right? Instead of walking into unknown spaces where growth, opportunity for the company, a thing that might get you promoted actually lives, you just play it safe. And here's the thing, as someone who has had as a need in my life certainty and predictability, you can satisfy your needs for certainty and predictability if you play it safe. But it may come at the expense of what your boss is looking for. it may become something that actually keeps you from ever taking the kind of chances that would have afforded you something great, right? And if you don't do something daring, that's one thing. But beyond not doing something daring, you may not do anything, right? Like, I think there's a chance when you're so connected to perfectionism that you decide to just wait until, but until never comes. So I really want to encourage anyone who's interested in actually doing the thing that would disrupt or go against what their competitors or enemies are looking for. Forget it. You have to drop the act. There is no such thing as perfect. Getting things done is better than getting them perfect, because you will actually make progress if you can focus on done. Now, in the book, if you are familiar, right, I tell this story of 8 Mile, right? It's a strange way to try and teach a conversation on owning your weaknesses, but for me, part of what I want to finish with here is this idea of how do you turn your weaknesses into superpowers, okay? Because I do believe that anything in life is about framing. Anything in how we represent the experience of our experience, the truth, the authenticity, the transparency of who we are, right? The more that you can see what you have been through as the reason why you are perfectly qualified to be in whatever it ends up being that you want to try and step into, you will find evidence of that. So when I was working at the Walt Disney Company, I was put into a position to lead the sales organization when I was around 36 years old. Okay, I had not, previous to being asked to take on this role, done much work inside of the theatrical business. I had not worked in the movie theater business almost at all. And so for me to walk into that space, the temptation that I had was to convince the team that I had in Los Angeles, the teams that existed around the world, that I knew it all. They better pull their chairs up close and get out a pen, because I'm about to teach them everything that I know that they have not yet totally figured out. And that would have been a complete lie. It would not have been me living my truth. So instead, I had to ask, okay, what might the superpower of my inexperience be as a leader to these people who, to a person, had been working in the business for 25, 30 years. And they, to a person, had not ever had a leader that had the strength that I had, which was the curiosity of someone who had never, ever done the work that they do, right? I tried to sit in conversations and ask questions to understand why we did the things we did. Why did we do them? What was it? And so I tried to take this, what otherwise could have been perceived as a weakness, and turned it into a strength by saying, look, guys, I don't know how to do your job. I don't. And I don't want to pretend for 1 second that something I'm going to tell you isn't something that you've already thought of. But I do think that we could engage in a conversation, unlike most of the conversations you've traditionally had with your leaders, by indulging me, being patient with me, in answering some of the questions I might have as a person who doesn't have experience. And maybe in us walking into some of these conversations, we might find a new road that we can go down, because I have never ever been here, and because of not being here, I'm thinking that maybe we ought to explore this thing that maybe wouldn't have ever occurred to you because of the length of time that you have been doing this job the same way, right? I tell the story of 8 Mile because if you've seen the movie, I mean, it's a good movie, but the final sequence of the movie sees Eminem rapping against I think he's a character in the Avengers now that I think about it. Anthony Mackie. Anyway, he's on stage, underground, ready to have this rap battle. And as it turns out, there's 2 people in a rap battle. One person goes first, another person goes second. And Eminem in this rap battle does something that people don't do. He represents every single thing that his competitor could use against him before he's able to weaponize those weaknesses and use them. The movie's called 8 Mile. It's not safe for kids, but it's the story of underground rap battling. And so what does Eminem do? He takes all of the power. He takes all of the ammunition away from this person who is going to inevitably try his best to take him down as soon as his rap is done. But now that he's taken everything off the table, he has inoculated himself from anything that he could come at him with. And so the story that I tell in the book, and the reason why it was an important aha moment for me, I was negotiating very, very big deals. And I was sitting across the table from people who had a list of reasons why me as the person negotiating did not make sense. But rather than let them bring up the things that would inevitably try to take me down, I preemptively introduced them in the conversation. Yep, you're right. I don't have a lot of experience in this business, but I'm hoping that the lack of experience maybe has us thinking differently about the kind of deals that we can do, because I am interested in a mutually beneficial outcome. I want to try and drive people into your theaters, but I also, I do have a put from corporate. They're wanting me to get more money for this movie. I know that's going to be hard for you to swallow, but here's what I'm thinking, right? And the more that I could take the things that they would come at me over, bring them up, put them on the table, and acknowledge them before they were weaponized, I neutralized their power. I neutralized their power. When I think about this entire book, right? When I think about this entire book, I have in 20 chapters of storytelling around things that I am not necessarily proud of, that I carry some shame for. I have neutralized to anyone who might weaponize the way that I've been. I've inoculated myself from the things that anyone could say. And there is wild, massive freedom in having done that. There's so much freedom. And so like the idea for any of you is there a way for you to preemptively take any of the power that someone might try to wield against you off the table by bringing these things into the light, right? I could see someone in real time. They said, we all carry shame. We do carry shame. And you know what the best antidote to shame has been? The best antidote to shame has been honesty. The best antidote to shame has been ownership, right? The more that I was able and have been able to own the things that I'm struggling with, to acknowledge that I do not have it all together, that I am a work in progress. And by the way, I'm an awesome work in progress. Thank you very much. But shame thrives in the dark. Shame and struggle, they thrive in the dark. And it's only when we're able to represent the truth of our experience that shame can be extinguished, or at least wildly reduced. Wildly reduced. When I said this yesterday, I think that there is two really, really important things around why getting over this lie, the idea that we have to have it all together, is so important. The first one is struggle, the way that we feel overwhelmed by shame or guilt. Those things thrive in the dark. They thrive. They are fed when they don't actually get oxygen, when they don't see the light of day, right? They thrive. And so the more that you can bring them to the light, the first thing that happens is you realize how many other people are also experiencing the exact same thing. And God, it's so good. You get the blessing, you get the gift of community, of not feeling so alone, of actually connecting and normalizing the thing that you are struggling with because of having brought it into the light. And the second great thing that comes is that you get connected in that empathy, in that community with other people who are going through the thing that you're going through, with hope, with tools, with resources that may have actually worked for them in their working through this very thing that you're working through. And now that you can see that hope, now that you can see those tools, you actually have an opportunity to get better, to take care of the things that you'd like to do, to take care of the work that is necessary to continue your journey of becoming, right? You can't get help if you don't actually ask for it. And you will never be offered help if no one knows that you need it, right? It's just such a simple and beautiful thing. If we could push ego, if we could push insecurity, if we could push the worry of what they might think aside, we could so quickly get the help that we need. And yet there's something about, not wanting anyone to know that it's not working as well as we're, perpetrating on the internet. If curating your feed is feeding your ego, the byproduct of that curation may be emptiness and loneliness and not actually getting the kind of help that you deserve, that you could absolutely 100% have access to if only you were able to push some of that ego aside and ask. Represent the struggle so that you can get the help. All right, y'all, that was day 2. Again, this book, it's called Get Out of Your Own Way. I wrote it. I think you should buy it. We're going to go through another chapter every day this week and next week. I am excited to have you continue this journey. If you have not signed up for the challenge, it's a free challenge, completely free challenge that is every single day going to deliver to you a 20-minute or so coaching in your email. And then we're going to jump on here and have a live conversation about that coaching in around 9 o'clock Central Time every single day. So congratulations again to Sue Paternoster, who was our winner for the live, for the one-on-one coaching. If you are interested in being someone who might be coached by me, share this challenge with someone. I'm going to pick someone who has shared this challenge online to be coached by me one-on-one in a Zoom. And I hope you have a fantastic Tuesday, y'all. Thanks so much for being here. I will see you tomorrow, and we're going to dive into another chapter, another topic. And until then,